Hello, my friends on YouTube. Today is Sunday, the 1st of June 2025. To start, this is a video for grown up only. So, if you have young children in the room, please ask them to move. Today's video is the holy or the unholy, depending on how you look at it, prophet. The holy or unprophet. So anyway, we have to play with because many people actually they are afraid. They are afraid. So they report the videos, and I don't want it to be taken down. Anyway, let's start. The unholy, the holy, and the unholy. Okay. I read a Quranic verse, so I'm going to speak about it because something attracted my attention, and for this video is in English, but the one I did last week in Arabic, when there is nothing to criticize, what they criticize the Muslim who are angry, they don't criticize the substance of the video. They tell me you didn't recite the Quran in the proper manner. As if this will make the unholy holy and the holy unholy. Okay, I'm not going, I don't pay attention to this. Look, there are many people who spend their life trying to read this stuff properly. And where are we now? Most countries that they are in terrible situation are those who believe in this nonsense. So you want to read it and read it well? Go and waste your time on it. I criticize it. I don't care how it's pronounced. As long as I'm making the point and you know that very well, I don't care. So this Quranic verse is in the 4th chapter, verse 23. I'm going to put it in the description box. And in the middle, just a couple of words got my attention, and I'm going to elaborate on them. Now, when I say, let's say in America, at certain point, I think it was in the 20s, there was alcohol was forbidden. When you say it's forbidden, that means there was alcohol, and at certain point the government or a group of people or a certain race said, okay, no more alcohol. Or when you say the civil rights movement boycott buses, that means they were using the buses, but because of a situation, they boycott the bus company, and they don't ride the bus. When you say no alcohol, it means people were drinking alcohol, and there's a new law or something happened that they want to stop alcohol. Or you say no use to no drugs. That means there is drugs, and either the government or the people want to get rid of the use of the drugs. So what they do is they stop that. I'm going to read that Quranic verse, and it is really anyway, let's start. It's forbidden for you to marry your moms, your mothers. I gave that introduction because if you say don't marry your mother, that means some people in Arabia at this time were having sexual relationship with their mothers, either by force or marrying them. Okay? And your daughters. You are not supposed to do no more marrying your daughter. You shouldn't marry your daughter or your daughters. And your sisters. When you forbid marrying your sisters, that means people who are marrying their sisters. And your aunts from your father's side, you shouldn't marry them. Your aunts from your mother's side, you shouldn't marry them. The daughters of your brothers, the daughters of your sisters, you shouldn't marry them. And in Islamic tradition, there's a funny thing going on, which is if a woman breastfeed a baby 5 times until the baby is full, then this baby becomes like her son. I mean, you could say in emotional relationship, a woman could actually get attached to this baby as her son. But her DNA and his DNA is totally different. If you take sample from her blood and his blood and go and do DNA testing, they have nothing to do with each other. But, and I mean, honestly, it could happen that when this child, let's say an 18 years old mother breastfeed a baby, and 18 years later that baby became 18 years old and she's 36 and he wants to marry her. Look, if they accept that, I have no problem. She's not really his mother, but the Prophet of Allah told them, not, this is now your son, so you shouldn't marry him. Okay, anyway, that means also that the people used to marry the women who breastfed them. And that brings you to the point when the Prophet of Allah told the people, a man and a woman should not be alone. Well, I mean, honestly, if he had left it there, yes. If you have a young man and a young woman in one room alone, or in an office alone all the time, it could bring trouble, or they could have intimate relationship. Yes, in that case it's okay. However, the Prophet of Allah found a way that a man can be with a woman in the same room without any problem, and that by having that woman open her chest, take her breast out, and this man comes and she will breastfeed him 5 times until he is full. And a grown-up man, I don't know if a woman, I mean, he has to empty 2 breasts and probably he will not be full, because that's supposed to be for a baby, and the stomach of a baby is not like a stomach of an adult. Anyway, she has to feed him 5 times, and every time he has to be filled with her milk that he cannot eat anymore, or drink, or suckle on her nipple. So, this is the Prophet of Allah found a way to make that woman a mother to this adult man who is working with her in the same office by offering her breast. So she becomes his mother, and therefore he cannot marry her. It doesn't say that they used to do that with their own mothers. So if that's in the head, probably that act of giving the breast will stimulate him more. But the Prophet of Allah said that. So we shouldn't marry our mothers or the women who breastfed us when we were babies 5 times, because they are considered as our mothers. Anyway, if you wanted, that will not hurt my feeling. Anyway, if you think this is correct, okay, you don't have to. You don't have to marry that woman who breastfed you when you were a baby. That the whole world will not collapse. Okay? And the daughters of your wives. I mean, there are many people who marry let's say a widow woman or a divorced woman who has a child, a girl, her daughter from a previous marriage. I mean, it happens that sometimes the man would actually assault that young girl because she's living with him in the same house. But here it says, don't marry these girls. That means people used to marry the mother and her daughter. And he is making exception here. I'm going to put that in the description box. If ye did not consummate the relationship of sexual relationship with the mother and you feel attracted to her daughter, it's okay. Don't marry the mother, then let her go, and you can have the daughter as a wife, and you can do whatever you want with her. You can marry her, you can do whatever you want with her. And this is the sentence, the part of this verse that got my attention. You shouldn't marry your son's daughter. Like if I have a son, my son got married. Let's say I have a son and also an adopted son. Both of them are my children. One is adopted, one is not. One is of my own gene. Okay, both of these sons had wives, and both of them divorced their wives. I cannot marry the wife of my biological son, but I can marry the wife of my adopted son. Why? Because he's not my own son. Why did Quran specify that? You can marry the wife of not adopted son, but you cannot marry the wife of your own biological son. This is because the Prophet of Allah in another Quranic verse, he spoke about something about his adopted son. The Prophet of Allah, before he started that religious stuff, he found a young boy whose his parents died or what have you. Anyway, he adopted that boy. His name was Zayd. This is the only person by name mentioned in the Quran. We'll talk about that. So, the Prophet of Allah took this boy, adopted him, and for that we can say thank you very much, because you actually protected this boy until he became a grown-up man. And thank you very much because he actually helped him to get married. Thank you very much. I mean, when something happened that it's worth thanking a person, we don't all do everything bad or everything good. So I say thank you very much that you took care of him and you helped him to grow up and helped him to find a wife and get married, and you treated him as a son. However, that very son, after he got married, it seems to me, the Prophet of Allah started to see his wife, how wonderful and beautiful she is, or she was. So what happened is, he went to visit his son's home, and I am very sure during the day people work. But the Prophet of Allah didn't need to work because he had money coming from looting. So he went to visit his son. That was the excuse. He opened the door and he saw the wife of his son almost naked. And probably this did not happen once. He may have gone a few times, and then the wife of the son, because birds of a feather flock together. The wife of the son, she knows that he has money, but his son is probably working for somebody, not as wealthy. So she started to dress lightly or almost naked. She's in her home. And when he goes inside, you don't knock when you go to your son's home. You can just open the door and go inside. So he went inside. He saw her naked or almost naked or what have you, and his head turned. He wanted her. He wanted her. And he knew very well that his son is indebted to him. Okay? His son is indebted, literally indebted to him. So he made a motion in front of his daughter-in-law, the wife of his adopted son, so she can tell he's interested. And this guy is poor. So when her husband came home, she told him, the Prophet of Allah came and he saw me. I was naked or almost naked, and when he saw me, his things moved. So, I mean, it doesn't take a genius to understand what will happen. So the guy went to the Prophet of Allah and told him, take her. And the Prophet of Allah said, no, she's your wife, keep her. Yes, I like her very much and she's beautiful, but keep her, she's your wife. So the Allah, of course, on the side of the Prophet is his boy. Allah sent him a Quranic verse with the name of this son, adopted son, the only disciple of the Prophet of Allah that his name is mentioned in Quran. Okay. It says, you are saying to the person whom you adopted, keep your wife with you. But fear God. God can see what's in your heart, and you desire this woman, and Allah permit you to have this woman and have sex with her. You're Allah's boy now. So go, and the Allah is giving you permission, and you are afraid. I give you the Allah is giving you permission, and you kind of like embarrassed, making kind of like paying attention to the people's talk, and you don't do what Allah is telling you to do. Go and take the woman. Take your adopted son's woman. He had many wives. He had many concubines. Why only this woman? He liked her and he couldn't hold himself. Okay, so the Allah allowed him. It says his name is Zayd, the son, the adopted son. After Zayd, the adopted son, marked this woman, the Allah gave the woman for the Prophet of Allah to keep marking on her. I mean, you have to understand what I mean. But this is really, if you know the Arabic language, it's practically saying that. Okay? I'm going to put that in the description box. So back to the original Quranic verse. The Allah is telling people, you shouldn't marry. I mean, I'm for that, honestly. If people which, I mean, in the Amazon until like 30, 40 years ago, there are programs on YouTube that it says the people used to marry their sisters, their daughters. They are primitive people. They don't know that gene so close it can cause trouble. Anyway, I'm sure they don't do that now. And 1400 years ago, I'm sure Arabia were doing that. they marry their sons, they marry their daughters, they marry their mothers, they marry their grandmother, whatever. Anything goes. So, okay, if you are stopping that, I'm with that. But the thing is to put this part about you can marry the wife of your adopted son if you had an adopted son. Like if I'm, let's say, a Jewish or Christian or Buddhist person and I had an adopted son and I became Muslim and my adopted son divorced his wife, I can take his wife and make her my wife, no problem. I mean, morally, and the Prophet, it seems to be like the people were really criticizing him for what he was doing, that this is dirty. How can you marry your adopted son's wife? That's your daughter. But he had to find a way out. The Prophet of Allah, the holiness. I mean, this really, we come to the end of this video. What is holiness? I mean, holiness, because Muslim people, they believed that this man was a holy man. If this is holiness, you see, we all have mind, and the mind measure things according to your humanity. And somehow this is against the grain of humanity. So whether you are Muslim, Christian, Buddhist, whatever, this something deep in your mind tells you this is wrong. You don't need to be religious or believe in a particular religion to understand that this is wrong. This is wrong. Thank you very much. We hope to hear from you. Please comment, please subscribe and share. Thank you very much.